David Hughes is on the line with us. He's a geoscientist. He's the author of a new report. He's the president of Global Sustainability Research, Inc. Postcarbon.org is the website. Postcarbon is their Twitter handle. And David, welcome to the program.
Pleased to be here, Tom.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us about your report.
Well, what I did in the report is to look at the long-term sustainability of the so-called shale revolution. And I did that by looking at the major shale plays that make up over 80% of forecast production from shale out to 2040. I looked at all of the well production data, well decline rates, field decline rates, how many wells that you need to drill in order to offset those declines. And I made projections of what production will look like going forward, given various drilling rate scenarios. And those projections basically pointed out the fact that the production is going to be vastly lower than projected by the U.S. government and certainly by some of the industry players that have these kind of fantastic projections of, ever-growing shale production.
So fracking isn't the panacea that the fracking industry would have us believe?
It certainly has been a panacea in the short term. The question is, given the physical realities of the geology, the decline rates, and so forth, and the amount of money, these wells are expensive, that have to be poured into those plays, it looks like the medium and long-term future of fracking is much less productive than we would have been led to believe.
I've been reading, particularly over in the Financial Times, there's a few op-ed folks who are suggesting that fracking is sufficiently expensive that it's really not sustainable when oil prices are below a certain threshold. There's an argument about what that threshold is, and it depends a lot on where they're fracking and whether they're fracking for oil or for gas. And there's a whole bunch of variables, but the consensus seems to be, well, I'm not sure it's a consensus, but some of the loudly outspoken opinionators in this field seem to be saying that the reason that Saudi Arabia opened the spigot on their oil and the reason that they're actually increasing the world oil supply from traditional wellheads in Saudi Arabia is because they're trying to drive the price down and hold it below $80 a barrel, at which point a lot of U.S. frackers are going to go broke. What do you think about that?
I think that probably is a distinct possibility. There's, as you say, there's a lot of argument about what that price cutoff is. And one of the things that I noted, I went through all of the well production data for every play, and every play is the same, right? They have a core spot, a sweet spot that normally gets saturated with wells early on in a play's development, and then there's the rest of the play, which is usually much lower quality. The wells are the same price, but they produce a lot less, so you need to drill a lot more of them. And the best parts of plays like the Bakken and Eagle Ford on tight oil are likely economic, maybe down to $60 a barrel. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the plays, 80% of the area in those plays, probably need $90 oil, $100 oil in order to be economic. So,
right. So the Saudis are trying to force us to dial back our fracking so we stop competing with them, so then they can jack the price back up again, or some variation on that theory.
Yeah, if you look at a play like the Bakken, the field decline is 45% per year. So,
whoa!
If you didn't drill a well, production goes down by 45%.
Wow. So that basically in 3 years, your well is dead.
Yeah, well, typically the first year decline is the steepest.
Right.
On an individual well basis, the first year decline in the Bakken is over 70%.
Wow.
Second year is a little less. Third year is a little less. So over 3 years, it goes down about 80 to 85%.
So wow. So the oil that we're getting out is limited in quantity. The price that we're paying for it is very high in addition to actual dollars. I mean, these fracking companies are disposing of toxic waste in ways that we may have to deal with for generations. and they're not paying anything for that. You know, it used to be that the fossil fuel industry had to at least pay to dispose of some of its toxic waste. So we're really subsidizing this industry, and an industry that is generating wells that are only good for a couple of years.
Well, they'll likely be good for longer than that. I mean, nobody knows. You know, if you look at a field like the Bakken for tight oil, which is one of the first ones that was developed, you know, less than 1% of the wells are more than 10 years old.
Yeah. So,
you know, they produce a lot to begin with, but by the time they get to be 6 or 7 years old, they may be down to 10 barrels a day, which is called a stripper well.
Yeah, yeah. Remarkable. Would it be, somebody had characterized fracking as basically a Ponzi scheme, that you raise a bunch of money from investors, you frack a well, that well produces enough money that you can then frack the second well, and you take that money and then you frack the third well, and you just keep basically using the money from the previous ones, and eventually you start having wells that produce less and less, and the Ponzi scheme collapses. Is that a reasonable characterization?
Yeah, I think it is. We haven't. I mean, because companies always drill their best locations first, we haven't necessarily seen immigration into the really lower quality rock yet. But if you look at the cash flow of these companies, it's mainly negative for most of the smaller shale producers. So they're operating on a negative cash flow. So really, they're running on debt, and we can't really do that forever.
How do they do that? How do you have a fracking company that's producing oil or natural gas that's not making money? I mean, is it the old joke? You know, I'll lose 5 cents a unit and make it up on volume.
Yeah, I you know, a lot of it's been companies that got in early into the best parts of some of these plays, so they have assets to sell. Mm-hmm. You know, they sell themselves to larger companies. So there's been money that's been generated that way, not necessarily producing the resource, but
I see.
You know, M&A activity and
mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. So it's all the worst parts of an unregulated capitalist environment, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we put that report out is to provide a factual foundation for what is actually happening in terms of these plays and what their longevity is. Because right now, the convenient rhetoric is that U.S. has abundant oil and gas that's going to be cheap and abundant forever. And that's not backed up when you actually look at the facts of the matter.
Right. We're talking with David Hughes, geoscientist, author of a new report over at Global Sustainability Research. Postcarbon.org is where you can find it. David, just a half a minute left. How long is it going to be before everybody says, okay, that's it, the fracking fad is over?
I think that we'll probably frack the last possible location, but what's
North
really
America
important is when the rate of supply starts to fall off, mm-hmm. and when the price of oil and gas gets jacked up, because you can't drill in most of these plays, most of the area of these plays, unless you have prices that justify it. And right now we're kind of kidding ourselves and thinking that the price of oil and gas is going to be cheap, and it's going to be abundant forever.
And that's just not the case. Okay, David Hughes, postcarbon.org. David, thanks for dropping by today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Great talking with you. And it's fascinating to see how the whole fracking industry is, running a con on us. 15 minutes past the hour.